In the second programme, the conversation went as far as the release of the Imagine album in the autumn of 1971. In this, the third part of the series, Andy Peebles continues the conversation with John and Yoko, discussing their life and work through the period early 1972 to November 1974.
In 72, a deportation case.
Dun, 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 dun.
Can you imagine all this? I mean, it's
What a life.
incredible,
Let's
isn't
make
it?
a movie.
But Mayor Lindsay in New York did a lot of things on your behalf, did he not, around about that era?
He was very good to us and said lots of things like we should welcome artists to our shores because this is the haven, isn't it? It's got the big Iron Lady out in the sea there saying welcome to the shores, and they were trying to kick me out. And it's ridiculous when you look back on it, because the most I could have done was gather a big gang of demonstrators together, which the police could have shot. So what are they complaining about?
When we did the bed-in Toronto, there was a specific instruction, I understand, from the government to the press, the American press, that they should not put us on the front page, because they did initially when we did the bed-in. So I think that we were thinking that our peace and love movement was very subversive. But in fact, the government was very aware of it, it seems like. Yeah. They caught on. Maybe the people didn't catch on, but...
We tried to do it with humour. It was really irrelevant what serious critics in the pop business said about what we were doing in bed and bags and that, as long as what we felt our duty or our position was to keep on about peace until something happened. It was in the tradition of Gandhi, only with a sense of humour.
June 1972, sometime in New York City, which we referred to a little bit earlier on because it included the live side. And it was a collaboration between the two of you and Elephant's Memory. Phil Spector was involved. Frank Zappa was involved as well.
Yeah, he was appearing at some dance hall in New York, famous one.
The Fillmore East?
Yes.
Yeah, and we bumped into him somewhere and he said, will you come down and jam with us? So we thought, great, okay, we'll go down. We'd just come from London about a week before or something. We went down there and I did an old Olympics number, the B-side of Young Blood, or so, I'm not sure what it was. It was called Well. It was a 12-bar kind of thing that I used to do at the Cavern. It was a B-side of some hit American record. It was pretty good with Zappa because he's pretty far out, doesn't he say?
He is, isn't he? Yes,
so we blended quite well. It was a combination of sort of mad rock and what I consider newspaper-style writing of songs about what was currently going on, like Attica State or Woman is the Nigger or whatever.
But the record cover, we had Chairman Mao and Nixon naked dancing together. And of course, I mean, this is the sort of thing that we had to fight. I thought it was great. But then, without telling us, they put a little sort of a sales stamp or something on top of it.
But you couldn't even steam it off.
Really?
So they wouldn't have Nixon and Mao dancing naked together.
And that's our record company doing that to us.
You know.
Yeah, without telling us.
Kids were writing into us and complaining because they'd go to the supermarket, whatever you buy them, buy the record, and then they try and get this label saying the latest sales hype on it, and you couldn't get it off. It ripped the cover to shreds. They could have covered it without ruining it, so as when you got home you could unveil it. Or what the hell, I mean, you couldn't see any pubic hair. It was just two bodies. It was her idea. She just stuck their two heads on. Yeah. And it was hysterical, but you can't see it now.
I really think it's interesting that by then, the record company, I think, was very nervous because they felt that we were being so controversial and all that. So they really started to do that. But it's interesting that they were so nervous.
Can I talk to you about Woman as the Nigger of the World, Yoko?
Well?
Go on.
Memories.
Well, what about it?
Tell me about it and how it came to be.
Well, you see, the thing was, in New York, I was an artist, and I was sort of doing my own thing. Then I went to London, and I was doing these gallery shows and whatnot, and concerts and all that. And then I met John. And then, right smack, sort of, I was put in this sort of situation of 4 men who are from Liverpool, and this was the first experience, taste of, big machoism. And nothing to do with their songs. I mean, their songs are beautiful and lovely and all that.
We know.
But I mean, as people, I was thinking, what is this? What is this? And I was really sort of naive about it all, in a way. Though in New York, I must say, as an artist, I did confront the homosexual mafia kind of situation where the art world was controlled by homosexuals, gay people, shall we say.
Happy-go-lucky.
Yeah, right, of those days. And this time was sort of like a personal situation where I started to feel, well, I mean, what are we going to do? So we did an interview with Nova when I think I was asked some questions and all that. And I just, well, you know, woman is a nigger of the world. And that was quoted on Nova cover or something.
Which is a dead magazine, was a magazine in England at the time. like Vogue or something.
Well, because you see, like in the breakfast table or something, they said we have morning paper, and I would just sort of start naturally look the papers, and John said, "Oh well," because he was used to looking at the paper first.
Don't touch the papers till Dad's read it. You know,
the Sunday morning blues.
You don't touch papers till Dad has it. You know, slippers and ties.
You know, what is this?
She couldn't believe
guy
it.
Supposed to read the papers first. I couldn't believe it.
Unwritten English
just
law,
on that
Yoko.
kind of
Unwritten English law.
You know, on a trivial level, but I mean, all these things, accumulate, and that's why I was inspired to say, "Woman is the nigger of the
Our
world."
good friend
I mean, directly
old friend Dick
inspired
Gregory.
by
helped us by getting us in the black magazine called Ebony, and there's one other which I've got the name of, and posing with pictures for us, a lot of the world, which I believe was long before Helen Reddy's I Am Woman. We understand what he's saying. We're not offended, but the ones who were offended were all the honky whites. As far as I'm concerned. So that wasn't played on the air either. You could never hear it. It probably would have. But she did do Sisters Oh Sisters, which we did reggae on the B-side. It turned out to be the B-side. But I remember that session because Elephant's Memory, all New York kids, they didn't know what reggae was. I'm trying to say it's I'm trying to explain to them. The only lick I knew to teach him was the Israelite, that Desmond Dekker thing. Yes. So if you listen to it, you'll hear me going, trying to get them to reggae. 10 years later, they write to me saying, "Oh, we understand reggae now. Any work?" Screw you, kid. It's too much hard work, you know what I mean? Ballad of John and Yoko, by the way, was banned over here because they don't like the word Christ, unless you're wearing a white robe, you can't say Christ here. So they turned it round so it would go, it ain't easy, so that's how they fixed that one. And Woman is the Nigger, we were on a TV talk show. Dick Cavett had this national TV show, and he was willing to let us sing it because he was a liberal, quote unquote. And the company, there's a big hullabaloo backstage, and we did manage to do it live on his show once, but the hullabaloo was amazing. I mean, it was like I'd trodden on the flag or something. Isn't it incredible?
But so many situations that you've talked about begin to look silly in retrospect as you look backwards now.
Yeah, I know, it's just absolutely ridiculous. But when you think, it's such a beautiful statement. What she was saying is true. Woman still is the nigger. There's only one. You can talk about blacks, you can talk about Jews, you can talk about the third world, you can talk about everything, but underlying that whole thing, under the whole crust of it, is the women, and beneath them children. As Dick Gregory said in 1969 to us in Denmark, children's liberation is the next movement, because they have no rights whatsoever. Absolutely none. Women have a certain amount. But children is the next thing. But the women will liberate the children.
Well, just the other day, Sean was coming to me. He was very serious, and he's 5 years old. He just said, "Mommy, when you say something, they take it seriously. But when I say something, they don't believe me."
He said that.
And so I said, "Well, I'm very sorry. That's how it is. And grown-ups, we don't understand."
Yeah. December 1972, Happy Christmas War is Over, which will doubtless be played hundreds of times on British and maybe even American radio.
Yeah, they do play it here, thank God.
Well, they do play it in Britain as well, John. They played an awful lot.
Good. We're very proud of that, and we both sang together on that one, so we made it might have been our first straight pop record together, and Phil was the producer. And it was a beautiful session, and the kids singing were beautiful.
It was a Harlem Community Choir, was it not?
Yeah, it was a really nice, pleasant thing. And basically I said to Phil, give me the backing you gave to George on a thing that George wrote for Ronnie Spector, and it's slipped my mind now, which is Try Some, Buy Some. We almost missed the Christmas market that year with that record.
You got to number 4 in Britain.
We got it out earlier in Britain than we did in America. Something held us up. I can't remember. There's so many things going on. But what we wanted to do was have something besides White Christmas being played every Christmas, And there's always a war, right?